Good morning. Today I want to take a look at some of the scans that we ran last weekend and talk about how we can perform backtesting, and we're going to do that using EdgeRater. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, you can see that I am in my template called the good, the bad and the ugly, which you can find in the hot topics category. And last weekend I ran this scan to find stocks that had moved the previous week and look for possible continuation moves, etc. So that video is posted on the YouTube channel. What I'm going to do today is actually show a technique in EdgeRater that you can use on any scanning template to actually do back tests of results that you see. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm not going to run the scan for today. I'm going to actually go to the template date and I'm going to set this back to last weekend. And now I'm going to run this template and it's going to give me results as if we were running this last weekend. So it's not looking at any data from last week, it's just looking at data up to last weekend. And it's going to show me the report that it would have produced had I ran this last weekend too. So I'm just going to wait for this to finish. It's nearly done, as you can see in the progress bar down here. And it has finished now, and so we've got the resulting report. So what I'm going to show here is a quick technique on how to run some backtests. So what you can see here on this template is, on this template report, it's the good, the bad, the ugly template. So it's a quick summary of what happened for the last day, for the week to date, month to date, year to date, and then prior days, prior weeks, and prior years, all in one easy to use report. So what I want to do is sort by week to date column. I clicked on this twice so that I can actually get the best performers for the week of coming up to 5/5/2017, and you can see that at the top of the list is Angie's list. So if I double click on Angie's list, what I'm going to get is a chart. It came up over here, so I'm just going to put the chart down here. And I'm going to choose a layout that's more simplified than the layout you see here. I'm going to just choose my clean layout, which is 50 period moving average and volume. And so one of the things that you will notice immediately, let me just put this over on the right hand side so that we can have a split screen view. So one of the things immediately you'll notice is as I scroll down through the list of best performers for that week leading up to the weekend of 5/5, is you will get a label highlighting the date that the scan was run for. So at a very simplest level, and a very useful feature is just being able to scroll down through the results here and have a quick visual view of what happened since that date for these performers that were really the best performers of the prior week, the week leading up to that date. As you can see as an example here, HIIQ, the prior week, 5 days would have been started down here, ended up here. So that was a big performer, 26% gain. So it's pointing to the date we ran the scan, and then you can see what actually happened last week leading up to Friday. Had quite a big, nice move on Friday. So that's an example of what you can do with just looking at the charts and scrolling through. But what I want to give an example of here is how to run some backtesting. I'm going to give a quick example, and obviously you can take this example and change the parameters and change what you're actually looking for. But I'm going to show a useful technique now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've sorted by week to date, and I want to find out the stocks that gained more than 20% in that week. I want to add them to, I want to test them actually and find out how they did for last week. So let's take I'm just going to highlight my list all the way down to 20%. And then one of the things that you have in the title bar up here is this trade simulation. And if I expand this up a little bit, you'll see that in this menu area you can actually add these symbols to a list of entries. So I'm going to click on that, and what that's done is in the main window, I'm just going to bring that back up here. If we look under now entries and exits, you can see that these entry signals have now been added in to the entries. We don't need the top part of this anymore. That that's useful for generating entries from scripts. But we've just generated these entries manually by running the template and then clicking add to entries. So you can see it's got the date that the entries are good for, 5/5/2017, and you can see it's got the stocks that we selected to be added. So what we can do with this is then go into the trade simulation tab and simulate some trades. So I'm going to say, well, what would have happened had we chosen to enter on the event bar at the close of the day. Okay, so that would have been on the Friday, May the 4th, at the very close of the day. And we could have done that by looking at intraday scans, which you can do in EdgeRater, and you could have actually had that list before the end of the day. So it's not so hypothetical. This is something that you could actually do if you wanted to do in the live market. So I'm going to say event bar on close, so that would be Friday at the close. And then I just want to see what happened last week. So I could choose the number of days exactly here, or I could just set the number of days to be a lot more than the days that are available. And I'll say exit event bar on close and exit on last bar if the number of days that we're requesting actually goes longer than data available. It's just going to exit on the last bar. So that's how we get that. Alternatively, I could have just said fixed hold period be 5 days and exit on event bar and close, but this is just another way to do it. I'm going to hit run, and so it's going to show me the actual trades that were taken with these particular entries. You've got the list, of course, and if you double click on any one of the cells in the list, so what I can do is put this window on the left again, and that just gives me windows side by side, and I can kind of just scroll down through the trade list here, and it is actually pointing. Now you've got labels indicating where the entry was and where the exit was, and it's going to tell you also the exit reason. So sometimes you can't see the label for exits because it's hidden a little bit over to the behind the edge of the screen, but you can drag that over there and make sure you can see it. If you've done a update of the scaling, if you double click on this axis over here, that's going to set auto scaling again. So every time you change stocks, it's going to go and scale it to whatever the stock range is for that time period that you have on view. And so you can just scroll down here and take a look at the week, and you've got a list of all the bars here and what actually happened. That's so all good information. And what you also have in here is the trade summary. It tells you there are 19 trades altogether, 11 winners, 8 losers. The average win was $542. This was trading, I believe we had the settings at trading 10. Let's just take a look at the settings. Under portfolio rules, we had settings at initial equity was 100,000, and we were going to do $10,000 per trade. We did not restrict the capital, so it doesn't matter that because we have 19 trades here, obviously that's going to cost $190,000, but it doesn't matter here. This account essentially can, because we haven't restricted with this button here, use only available equity, it's actually going to just use whatever is it needs and not pay any attention to the initial equity. So but you could set that to use only available equity, and then it's just going to make trades until that runs out. But I'm just trying to get more of a statistical view of this. So let me just close that down here. And now, so we're making a average profit of $542 in the winners, and average loss of $747 in the losers. So obviously, the strategy here of buying those stocks is overall not good for the whole week. Okay, we ended up losing $6.60 for the week. But as you can see from the equity chart here, if I just look at the daily equity, you can see that Saturday was the Friday was the 5th. I think it was Friday the 5th. I think before I said Friday the 4th, but the 5th. Saturday was the 6th, Sunday was the 7th, and then so on Monday we actually started to move up the equity here. On Tuesday we were up a bit further, and on Wednesday we had maximum equity in the account of plus $6,822 because we're at 827. But then Thursday and Friday, the stocks on average came back in the portfolio, and we ended up back at where we started, near enough. So that's an interesting look, and it's just more of a statistical look. It's obviously not real trading. When you're trading, you're gonna be looking for stocks that have the potential to move. You're going to have your low risk entries. You're going to have places where you're going to get in. You're going to set your risk reward levels up, and exit if things are not going in your favor, and only enter if things look favorable. So that's a whole aspect to trading. But this is more of a statistical approach, just taking those blanket list of stocks that made over 20% for the week before. But what I wanted to do here is compare this to the list of stocks that lost more than 20% the week before. So to do that, all I have to do actually is go back to my report, good, bad, ugly, reverse sort by week to date, and then select the stocks all the way down to the 20% level. And before I actually add them to my entries, one thing that is important to do here is, because we've already got a bunch of stocks in this list, is clear those signals, just clear them out. Okay, so we've got nothing in here so far. And then what you'll see is, if I drag this over here, is when I now add these to the entries, it's added them in 5/5/2017, and now we've got the list of the stocks that lost 20% or more for the prior week, leading up to 5/5/2017. Okay, so now that's in here. It's in my entries and exits. I don't have to change anything in the trade simulation because all the settings are already set up. So all I have to do is click on the trade simulation tab and then press run, and it's going to now run this new list. So here's the new trade list. I can actually sort by profit and loss percent, so we can take a look at the actual trades that were simulated here. And as I go down through the list, you can see the biggest gainer here was an 88% gainer from a very low value of 0.45 up to 0.84. But nevertheless, that's a real gain. And then we'll take a look at some of the others, and you can see. Obviously, I've sorted this by the stocks that ended up doing well, and so and you can see, for instance, in this case here, IMPX, even though there was a 40% gain at the end of the week, midweek there was a massive gain in this. So you could have entered here in theory at if you're trading at the close based on the prior week's percentage loss, you could have entered right here at 179, 180-ish, and on the Monday you would have seen a profit in the account of several 100% just on that one day. Whether you could have actually exited near the top, that's another thing, but it's just an example of the what we're seeing here. Here's another example, Ocular. So you can go down through all this list. Obviously, it's interesting to see the ones that performed badly. So performed bad for the prior week, generated this entry because it was more than a 20% loser, but then went on to lose even more. This week, losing 67% of its value. So pretty big loss in that one. And then we're going to go up dry ships. Dry ships as well. So 507, and I think what must have happened with dry ships, there must have been a split during the week, because I think I remember seeing during the week that dry ships had a big gain on one platform I was looking at, and that was probably just a reverse split. So this is the actual split adjusted data. You can see that's a kind of a big loss there. Okay, so and we can go up through this list, and you see all the ones that were losing trades. Okay, but overall, what actually happened? Let's look at the summary here. You see there were 34 trades here, 14 winners, 20 losers, but the average win was 1,783. and the average loss was 1,171. But that gave an overall profit and loss of 0.445%. Equity started at 100,000, ended at 101,000. Equity got up to 114,900. And if we take a look at the equity chart again, we can see that on the Monday, okay, so this is Friday over here, Saturday, Sunday. So on the Monday, this account was up to 114,899. Bearing in mind, we can't say a percentage of the equity that it could have made because we did not restrict trades to available capital. It's just an example, and trying to give statistical analysis over that data set. But I think that what you can see from here is that actually trading stocks that were lower, or the prior week did the worst of all stocks, actually resulted in a better overall weekly performance than stocks that were the best performers for the prior week in this particular example. And I'm just trying to show here a technique that you can use in EdgeRater. You can do all kinds of other things in here. It's giving you some ideas. For instance, you might only be interested in stocks that have a closing price above $10, in which case you can do exactly what I've done here, but now you'd restrict your closing price to, say, greater than $10. Okay, and then look at the week-to-date loss or gain, and then go through the same process I just went through and add those things to your list of entries. That's one example. You might want to restrict it by stocks that have gained for the year. What's their yearly gain? Did they do better last week than stocks that had a big yearly loss? So you can definitely look at things like that. Essentially, any template report in EdgeRater that you can produce that's a scanning report, so it includes all kinds of things like the good, bad, ugly report. Let's take a look at some of the templates in here that are scanning templates. So yeah, so you've got the someone knows something template, you've got the good, bad, ugly, you've got in play, you've got free parking, you've got guppy multiple moving averages, you've got let's have a look further down in here. Linear regression, you could certainly use it. Linear regression, you could certainly use it on annual trends. Any of the George Lee stocks in here. So pretty much any template in the system that's a scanning template, and you'll easily see which ones are scanning templates when you run them. You can take just highlight the stocks that you're interested in and add them to your list of entries, and EdgeRater knows the date that is appropriate for the entry just based on the date that you ran the scan, and it will then create that list of events, and you can then use that in a trade simulation. So that's all I wanted to say for now, and give you an idea of an interesting technique in the program. There are actually two techniques that are very useful that I highlighted. One is the ability to run any template for any historical date. That's extremely useful. So rather than just running for today and seeing what stocks are meeting your criteria for today, why not run for any other date in the past? And one of the extra things that you get from that is the ability to replay, do a replay mode. And as an example of replay mode, let me just show you a technique here for replaying. So say we go back to January, we'll say 4, I'm not sure what day trading started this year. And then I'm going to look at, I can choose any scanning template, but let's take a look at candle patterns and just run this one. Okay, so I'm running this. This is going to give me a result as it was on January the 4th. Okay, and this is an example of replay mode. So what I'll do is I'll put my chart into replay mode, and now I'll look for some of these scans, these candle patterns. So let's look for IRB sandwich. Yes, we'll sort by that, and then we'll just come down and look at IRB sandwiches. Okay, so what this has done, because I'm now in this replay mode, and I ran this report for January the 4th, 2017, my chart is now set to January 4th, 2017. I can't scroll using the scroll bar at the bottom further than January the 4th, but I do have my replay mode buttons up here, and because we are now past January the 4th and we have more data available, I can actually click the button over here and actually go and see what happened after each of these signals. And every time I come back and I click on a new one over here, it's going to reset me back to that date. So if you just want to test out certain scans and do a replay and kind of see what happened, you can certainly do that. Replay mode is a great way of doing that. And now with the extra drawing tools, it's actually quite handy, because this is an IRB sandwich. You've got the long wick down here, the tall wick up here. The theory is then if prices break above or below, you have entries, but you also have stop losses, because you can use the whole sandwich as the range where you're going to set a stop loss, or you can use prior bar or whatever stop loss you're going to use. But what you can do here, say go forward. All right, we're still not broken outside of the IRB sandwich in this case. We have here, and what you could do is then add a risk reward grid to the chart. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay, my entry is possibly going to be at yeah, let's put the entry just above the IRB sandwich up here, and let's drag that over here a bit. And my stop loss is going to be down, well, you can set that wherever you want it to be, but let's say, as an example, the stop loss is going to be the lower part of the of this bar over here. Okay, so stop loss down here. So now I've got my risk reward grid on here. I know where my 100% gain is, 200%, 300%, and so on. And now I can walk forward, and immediately you can see the stop loss was hit on the next bar, so you'd have been out of this trade. But by walking forward like this, you can then get an example of what would have happened, and you can do that for any candle pattern, any scan, anything you like in the system. So that's another great technique. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover, and I think that is enough for this weekend. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.